Hi guys, Jordan from B&B Campers. Just going to do your handover video on your Bailey Approach 760. So under the bonnet, based on the Fiat Ducato, or probably a Peugeot Boxer actually, chassis. So on the left hand side here we've got your washer fluid, power steering fluid and engine coolant. Next door to that you've also then got your brake fluid attached to the servo just down behind it. This is just the tube for your washers. Air conditioning in this model, which is why you've got these pipes here at the front, this one here and this one, they're both to do with the aircon. Engine oil gets topped up through this cap just down here, and your engine oil dipstick is this yellow topped one just down here at the front. You've got the Alco chassis on this one, so the original chassis plate is this one at 3.5, and the one that you actually want to look at is this one just here, which is the 3850 on the Alco. Alco being the type of chassis that they've gone for this particular model. Paint code is just there, 611, and that is this nice silver colour you get on the cab, and it also does run onto some of the stickers down the side, but the majority of the actual coach built side of things is in a white. So this code, as I said, is the silver on the cab. And the last bit under the bonnet of these is that you've got the engine battery itself sits just under the floor in the cab, just underneath this little bit of carpet just here. And so if you need to jump start the vehicle from under the bonnet, you've got a positive terminal for the engine battery just there under this little cap, and an earthing point or a negative terminal just here. And it does tell you that only for jump start just there. So that is what all of that stuff is under there. Inside the passenger door you've got the bonnet release handle just there, stops anyone being able to get into it from the outside, and your fuel filling point just behind this little cover here. So I'm actually just going to go around the outside, the offside first, because I've got the key here. Right, so first thing we get to on this offside is your toilet sort of section. So this part at the top here is your flush fluid reservoir. So this is where you fill it up with your pink fluid, or your pre-mixed pink fluid with water. And basically whenever you run out of your flush fluid, which I'll show you how to work out when we get inside, whenever you run out of it, just top it back up again with about 3 or 4 litres of the fluid. 3 or 4 litres, or obviously until it starts coming out basically, but you know, 2, 3, 4 litres is normally a pretty good healthy amount to put in those. Underneath here we've then got your actual toilet cassette locker itself. Now to take the cassette out, lift up on the little orange handle there, and then you'll be able to pull the whole thing out towards you. You'll see, if you look at this little flap just here, if I push this back in again, the flap gets pushed back when you put this back away. If I just explain, 1 second, I'll just pop these keys here. So when you put this out, this flap here is one that was just moving just there. Now, it's really important to keep this rubber seal here lubricated with some kind of a silicone lubricant, if you can get hold of one. You know, Halfords or any kind of motor factor like that will have silicone lubricant, just pure silicone lubricant. Keep on top of lubricating that, and just down these little lines here, and that'll keep that from going in and out nice and easily. And the reason you have to do that is if you don't do it and it gets all stuck and sticky and dry, when you push this in, when it gets to that point there where it starts pushing it back, it will get stuck. And what will happen is this will get stuck here, and if you push it too hard, it will break the whole lot. So it's really important to lubricate that up so that that little seal there can move nice and freely. Other than that, on the toilet cassette, all you need to know really is that you drain it out from here. So you twist this part out and drain it out from this cap, and you hold down the little yellow or orange button there at the back whilst you're draining it out. And that is it. Behind that you've got this locker just here, which is just for storage really. Just be really careful with these pipes here that are lined in this black sort of piping. These are the pipes for the boiler, so these will get very hot when the boiler's in use, so please just be careful on that. In the same breath, be careful around this just here, which is the boiler flue. So just that, you know, make sure that you don't touch that when it's running, because that will be hot. Only other bit is this bit here, which is your water inlet point. So you have got a point in there, which I'll show you where it is, but that's where you fill up your fresh water from. So you quite literally plug it in and then select it on your control panel, which I'll show you how to do as well, and that'll just start drawing water through. So that is for your fresh water. And the last thing to show you down here is your wastewater drain off, which you can see just dripping out there. So that's where you drain out your wastewater. So if I go around the near side now. So we've got these two vents just here as soon as we come here. These are for your fridge. So if you've got the fridge lit up on gas, you should be able to feel warm air coming out through the top of this top vent just here, which I can, because that's actually lit on gas at the moment. So that is working as it should. The flame basically sits just down here, and this flue comes up a little flue here and comes out through there. You've got we have actually fitted proper door retainers, because the old one would have been on a kind of like a bar up there, which, you know, they are okay, but this is a lot easier, and it means that you can open up the door a lot wider as well. So that does work out a lot better. So I just thought I'd point that out. Then got the gas locker below your D bar just there. Now the gas locker, you've got one full 6 kilo propane bottle in there. So you've got the pigtail just here and the regulator behind it just there. So that's a Truma regulator, and what looks like it might be a Truma pigtail, but I'm not quite sure on that. Might not be. So you've got the product date of 2020 on there. Now it is advised that you replace these every 5 years. If the actual pigtail itself hasn't got a date that needs, tells you it needs to be replaced by, you don't have to, but I would recommend strongly replacing that every 5 years. Turning the bottle on, you've got this valve on the top, so you go anti-clockwise round to the left to turn it on, and clockwise round to the right until it stops to turn it off. Now we're going to leave that on for now because I've got a few bits working on the inside to show you. The only other thing I need to show you on this particular setup, right, so on the regulator over here, you haven't got anything to worry about apart from this little green button down here. If you turn the gas on and you realise that nothing's coming through on the inside, it means that this little sensor here has basically stopped it coming through. So you need to press on that and hold it for a few seconds, and that just allows the gas to purge through here and continue working. So yeah, that's what it is really. That's all there is to it. You can obviously fit 2 of these bottles in here if you want to, with the other set back there. This bit of wood shouldn't be in here really, but it's not blocking any dropouts or anything, so just get that out of the way. So okay, so that's a gas locker. The fresh water drain off, by the way, is on the inside, and I'll show you where that is when we get in there. The last bit I need to show you is the leisure battery and hookup point just here at the back. So the leisure battery there looks like a pretty decent size, to be fair. I mean, it looks like probably 110 amp, maybe more than that. Amp hour, that is. Anyway, so that's the leisure battery just there. Really easy to get out. So all you need to do is just release this little clip just here, and then that whole thing will just pull out. And the electric hookup point, now you have got on these, you can see here where somebody's had the hookup before, that is where you can run the cable through. So you can plug the hookup in, run the cable through this little gap here, and then still have the door completely closed up. So that it leaves a little gap just there to allow your cable to stay plugged in. So that is that. So if I jump on the inside now, I'll show you as well, look, so this bit up here, really nicely into that and nice and strong, so it's not going to flap around in the wind or anything. So that, in my opinion, is a much better way of doing it. Okay, so as soon as you get in, you'll notice you got fire extinguisher, carbon monoxide alarm, and the smoke alarm just there, all in sort of the manufacturer's correct position. So, control panel is directly above your head as soon as you walk in, and it's super easy to use. You just got literally 4 buttons on the right. The top left hand button there, master, I'm not going to turn that off because we've got it on at the moment. That basically just turns all the power on and off from the leisure battery. So once you've done that, you'll then be able to flick through here and see all your levels and all that sort of stuff. So if you go back to the beginning again. Okay, so master on, and then you can go through. So that is your fresh water level. So apparently we've got nothing in it, but I know there's a little bit in there, but very, very nearly empty. And then your wastewater level. Fill internal tank. So if you have the point plugged in that I showed you on the outside there, so you've got this thing plugged into your freshwater filling point, plug that in, and then you can press the fill internal tank button. There you go. Press on that. And then you press your pump switch on, and that will essentially just start drawing all the water through that point into the fresh tank. Okay, so you can go next after that. External temperature, internal temperature. Battery select, that wants to be left on leisure. Battery current is how much power the battery is being drawn from it at the moment. So you've got the lights on. If I turn all the lights off, that battery current will go very, very low. Battery voltage, so 12.3, that's really good. And that's bearing in mind as well that we've got the solar panel on the roof. Now the solar panel comes in to the left hand side just here, these 2 wires here, and then these other 2 sets are going off. One goes down to the leisure battery and the other one goes down to the vehicle battery, so that all the time that there's sunlight on the roof of this van, the engine battery and the leisure battery are both being charged up by that. So if we just carry on through again, get there eventually. Battery voltage, oh, and that's it. So that's just basically giving you all your levels, all of your sort of like, you know, telling you what's going on basically on the vehicle at any one time. Stick to this. Right, so water pump, as I said, turn that on, it tells you pump's on, and then you can come to the tap here and you've got your pressurized water. So, because I haven't got much water in the van at all, the pump hasn't got enough water in it to actually pressurise and turn itself off. So it's a really good sort of point to be able to show you. The first thing you need to do, the absolute number one thing you need to do, before you start lighting the boiler up on the gas and all that sort of stuff, turn your pump switch on, assuming that you've got enough water in the fresh tank, this is. Turn your pump switch on and just come over to the tap and do what I've just done there. All right, so putting the hot water through and then the cold water basically just proves to you that there's no air in the system, there's no airlocks, and also that the boiler is actually full of water. In the same breath as that, if I should have been better prepared really, but if I just come here and show you this, behind this little seat here, underneath should I say, not behind, you've got the actual boiler itself. So the actual boiler just down here, and I've come to the wrong place for the drain off, haven't I? Where do those pipes go to then? Definitely should have been better prepared for this. Okay, so just found it luckily. So just here you can see the little yellow tab. So as I was saying, making sure that the fresh water and the hot water are both pressurized before you can start lighting the boiler up is because if this little yellow handle is in the upright position facing vertical rather than laying down flat like it is now, then all the water inside the boiler will drain out onto the floor. Now that being in the flat position there is perfect if you want to actually use it, and it'll allow any water that you send to it by putting the hot water through the tap to actually stay inside the boiler and fill it up. Okay, so for this time of year, you can leave that absolutely flat like it is now and just completely forget about it and not even think about that. But when it comes to winter and you think you might be leaving the vehicle over winter or something, you absolutely 100% need to lift that up and leave it in the open position so that any water that's inside that boiler doesn't freeze up and expand and crack all the pipes. So that is your boiler drain off point under there. So it turns out in the end I didn't need to take any of that off at all, but it's always nice to see it anyway, I suppose. Get that in the right position. Right, so I'll just drop these back down. Again, probably should have done this before the video started, but live and learn, I suppose. Okay, so I'm showing you the boiler drain off point. The freshwater drain off point, I will get back to the control panel in a sec, but the freshwater drain off point is just down here inside the fresh tank. Now the fresh tank is the one up here at the front, closest to the front of the vehicle. And if you look in there, you've got a little bung at the bottom there, and that is basically just what the drain is for your fresh tank. Now you can see it is very, very low, the water level. It's just about, you know, the bung's not even submerged in water, so it's probably got about an inch's worth of water in it, which is why it's telling us correctly that the fresh tank is empty. So that's that there. Okay, so now that you've turned your pump on and pressurized the hot and the cold water, the pump should then have enough water inside of it to pressurize itself and turn itself off. Once it's done that, you can then do whatever you want with the boiler. All the boiler controls are over there, which I'll run you through later on, but that's the first thing you need to do. Make sure there's pressure in the hot and the cold side. Lights, I've also already got these on, so I'll turn them back on again. All the lights have got their own individual switches, whether that be right next door to them or actually physically on the lights, like the ones back here. They've actually got their own switches physically on top the actual light itself. The bathroom lights are sometimes difficult to find, but this was nice and easy. So you got these lights just here. I have resealed around the tops here because they were coming off a little bit, and up these edges because they were looking a little bit sorry for themselves, if you like. So I've done those. We've also sorted the little side bits of the fridge out. They were a little bit broken up, and the freezer tray is this bit here, I think. So yeah, got new bits on those. That's ready to go back in. Okay, so let's keep going off topic. So yeah, you've got a light switch there, and then the one that says awning on it is literally a switch for this light above the door, which is your awning light, so that when the awning's actually wound out, you can have this light switched on so you can see underneath it, basically. So you can turn that one off for now. So that's the control panel. This little thing above the control panel is the thermostat for the boiler, just in case you ever wondered. And they put it there, which is a bit of a here and there about whether that's a good idea or not, because it is just by the door, which obviously has cooler air than it does anywhere else, but that is just where they tend to put them. So yeah, I know I already mentioned about the solar controller, but in this little cupboard here as well, you've got the tilt and turn aerial. So you basically, to get that to work, you undo this little nut up here, and then you can physically lift up. And then if I just show you what that looks like on the roof, that's the aerial actually lifted up, and then you'll be able to twist that round. So going by its name, tilt and turn, you can just basically move it around as and where you need to get a decent signal. But for the time being, I don't need it up, so I'm just going to put it all the way down and tighten it back up again. And once you've found a decent signal, you will also need to turn your signal booster on as well. So it's just a little bit of advice. It looks to me as if that's all already wired to these sockets just down here, so that'll have your TV aerial plumbed into it there. You then also got a main socket and a 12-volt socket depending on which type of TV you've got, and as you can probably tell, somebody has had TV on there at some point. So that is what that cupboard has inside of it just there. Just loads of storage in there. Obviously lots of ventilation for the microwave here. And also obviously there's lights and things, so there needs to be ventilation for all of that. Microwave will only work, somebody's left their cup in it, will only work when the electric hookup is plugged in. So that is a mains powered item only. And the plug socket for that is just inside there. So, as for bits and pieces around there, I think that's about it really. I have, just so that you can see, used this. This was the closest piece of wood that I had. I have put it all the way along so that it doesn't look odd. But the little piece of sort of metal-y plastic is, well, it is plastic, but it is definitely plastic. So there's a piece of plastic running across there that was this sort of silver colour, which, you know, looking at it now, probably would have looked better if I could get another piece of that, but I couldn't find any of that. And I also couldn't get the stuff off. I absolutely tried my hardest to get it off, couldn't do it. So what I've actually done is I've basically just put this stuff over it. I don't think it looks too bad. Put a little bit of glue underneath it just here so it doesn't make a horrible noise whenever you stand on it. So it's nice and solid. And also, being that kind of, it's not wood, it's just a wood sort of looking thing, but it's like a plastic, a really nice thick plastic, so it's not going to break whenever you walk all over it, is the reason I use that stuff. So hopefully you're happy with that. I don't think it looks too bad, but as I said, it was the best thing I could find that we had here to sort that little issue out just there. Other than that, it has just been odds and sods on the habitation check. You know, random sort of window stays and all those sorts of things have all been fixed. There was a couple of bits and pieces that I'm pretty sure weren't working before, which I know are now. So I realised just then I wasn't actually showing you anything when I was doing it, so it's not very helpful. So they've all been rectified as best as we could, so they are all, you know, I'm pretty happy with it now. I think it has come a long way since before the habitation check. So before I get onto the appliances on the inside, I'm just going to quickly run you through the cab because I've got a bit of a tendency to forget that. So the cab itself is a really high spec, as I said before. So you have got the reversing camera, which comes up on this screen just here. You've then got the 6-speed manual gearbox as opposed to the 5, which is really nice. And by the way, this particular vehicle is based on the 2.2, which is a chain-driven engine, so there's no cam belt to worry about either. You've then got air conditioning from this switch just here, your heater controls from there, and where the actual fan air goes to, basically. You can lock and unlock the cab from inside, which is really helpful. Has a warning lights, all of your sort of standard fitted Peugeot head unit up there. Auxiliary point just there, and a couple of 12-volt sockets. You have got the steering wheel controls, which most of the Peugeot Boxer chassis do, as well as the cruise control. You've then also got your electric adjusting mirrors, and that is all 4 mirrors, so the bottom one, top one, same on the other side, and then your windows. So that is all good. Right, so again, I do tend to forget the cabs sometimes, so I just like to run you through that quickly. Okay, so you have this particular model has got the proper rear facing and forward facing seat belt, so there is a 6-berth 6-belt model, which nowadays, to be honest, is actually getting really difficult to find. A lot of the time the manufacturers are making huge great big 6-berth motorhomes and only having perhaps 4 seat belts fitted, which, you know, to a lot of people doesn't make any sense, because, you know, what if you're going to take 6 people away with you, generally speaking, you're going to want 6 belts. So this is a very, you know, good sort of layout and design. They quite often would just have these forward facing belts here and nothing here, but these ones have. So just here we have got loads and loads of storage just down here with what you could use as a cutlery tray in there. The 4-burner hob, you have got dials for each burner, but I will just mention that the ignition for those is from this button just here on this cooker section down here. So it is all linked up. So that one there does all 4 burners, the grill and the oven. The grill door does need to be in the open position before lighting it up, which is on this left-hand side. The oven door, I would recommend leaving it open in order to actually light it, but then obviously shut the door to actually get it hot. The make and model, serial number and all that is just there on the left-hand side. Underneath there, probably got some gas valves, which I will just show you. So these gas valves just here, it has got a nice little diagram here telling you which one does which, because it has got a little sticker on the front of each one. So to actually isolate the gas from those, just turn them 90 degrees so they're facing upright basically. And that is just basically, if you, for example, if you were on holiday and you thought there was an issue with the fridge, for example, or one of the burners on the hob. So if you're literally away on holiday and you had no way of getting the van to us or to another specialist or whatever, you can isolate the gas from any specific appliance from just down there at those isolators. It would be the same as if I was doing a gas pressure test on this and there was a leak, I would turn all of those off and turn them on one by one, just to, so I can see which one it is that's leaking. So you can isolate each individual appliance from there. But as I said, the only reason you would ever need to do that is if you actually thought there was a problem with it. If you turn those isolators off every time you get out of the van, it will take ages for all the gas to get back to those appliances again when you turn them all back on. So the easiest and the best way to turn all the gas off completely is just do it at the bottle. Turn the bottle completely off and that has everything switched off. That has everything without gas. All right, so I just thought I'd explain that to you. So then you've also got the fridge. So the fridge itself is a nice modern one with a nice blue LED in it. So yeah, we need to put the fridge tray back in just there. As I said, that'll be at the top, the freezer tray, sorry. So what we've got is so it's a 3-way fridge, which means it works in 3 separate energies, if you like. So we've got it off, which is at the top just here. You've then got electric hookup, 12 volt, which is when your engine's running only, and gas. So I've got it on gas at the moment because I haven't got the engine running, so I can't use the 12 volt. And I haven't got a hookup cable plugged in, so I can't use the hookup. The only thing I do have is the gas turned on. So what I've done is I've gone all the way down to the bottom to gas. I've then pressed on the igniter switch, which you can probably just about hear. It's just sending a little spark down to the burner. And then all I've done, if I just turn it off again quickly so I can show you it actually lighting up. So all I've done is turn the igniter on whilst pressing in on this little gas button here. And then when you do that, it will light up and this little orange bar here will go up into the green. So if I just show you that working, so if I go all the way down to gas again, igniter, going up into the green, and now I can let go of this. As long as that little orange bar stays up in the green, you can know for a fact that the gas is definitely working. And the reason I say that is that little gauge there literally works on heat. It's like a mechanical little gauge, so it won't go up unless it's hot. So we know for a fact now that the gas is definitely working on the back of the fridge. And also, again, like I said, on the outside, you can put your hand over that little vent there if you want to, just to be doubly sure. But that's normally enough just to gauge it. So the gas will get the fridge cold from warm like it is now in about 2-3 hours. Same goes for the electric hookup. That will still take a good 3 or 4 hours. And that, as I said, will only work when your electric hookup's plugged in. If you do have the electric hookup plugged in, it would be my advice to use it on the electric hookup. Saying that, the longer you leave these fridges without lighting them up on gas, the more likely they are to struggle on gas, because they do get clogged up with spider webs and things like that. But yeah, so it's just personal preference. So as I said, either the electric hookup or the gas will get the fridge cold. The 12-volt one here, as I said, is only for when your engine's running, but all that's really for is just to keep the fridge cold whilst you're driving. So it's not really good enough to get the fridge cold by itself, but if you just use it to keep the fridge cold when you're driving, then that's plenty. All right, so pre-cool it before you leave. Pre-cool it on gas or the mains. Switch over to 12-volt before you leave, and then switch back to one of these two once you're parked up and set up. And that is how you use the fridge. So towards the back of the van, we've got the bathroom. So loads of storage in the bathroom. To be honest, you're probably not going to use that all for sort of bathroom stuff. So in my opinion, you could use that as more normal storage if you wanted to. So you got the shower just here. Now that is just a standard mixer tap, so literally hot to the left, cold to the right, generally speaking. And you've got your two drains down there. Two drains, by the way, so that if you're not perfectly level, whichever way you're not perfectly level, it will still drain out one side. It's just the reason they do that. And you've got your sink tap just here, which again is hot and cold, literally left and right. So that is that. The toilet is the only bit that I really feel like I need to show you. The rest of it's pretty, you know, taps left and right. It's pretty self-explanatory, I think. The only thing is that the plug for the sink there is up here. Toilet, if you haven't used one of these before, super easy. Press the button up here at the top. That pumps around your flush fluid, which again, already I can tell is a really good mixture of the pink fluid there. Open this flap up. That drains it out into the cassette itself. And then close it back over. And that's it. That's how you use the toilet. So the blown air heating, just so you know, has got a bit going into the bathroom. So if you wanted to sort of hang things up in here to cool off, to dry off, sorry, then you can do that if you want to. I've already shown you these two down here. The one at the back is just access to the waste tank. So if you wanted to clean out the waste tank, you can do that from in there if you ever needed to. Same goes for the fresh one there. If you want to clean that out, you can actually physically get to it. Now, I'll just show you these skylights. So you got the skylight just up here. Now this is exactly the same as the one in the front. The one in the front, I will just say, obviously this is just a design thing, but it is pretty high up to actually reach. You know, unless you can stand on here and get to it that way. I mean, I can just about reach it. I'm not exactly very tall, but it is pretty high up. You know, if you want to open it up all the way, it's pretty hard to do that, unfortunately. But as I said, because it's the higher roof, then there's not really much they could do about that. They can't fit it there because it's not big enough. But, there you go, just thought I'd mention that. So these skylights are so easy to use. If I just close it down quickly. So this is it in its completely closed position, and completely locked as well. The way to open it up, press this button in here and then just pull the handle back. If you want it all the way open, pull the handle all the way back, so that's fully open. You can then go sort of halfway by pushing it up into this little groove here and marrying it up on the other side. That gives you about halfway there and it's nice and solid. You can then go one more if you want to, so that's still open, but only just, or completely closed like that. I'm going to leave it open for now. Okay, so you got the speakers at the back here, JVC speakers. They will be connected up to the stereo in the very, very front. Again, that is just a kind of standard thing for them to do. In my opinion, they probably should. I mean, you can use those, you know, whilst the engine's not running. So I suppose if you sat back here, it would be quite nice. But because you've got the seat belts here, it probably would have made sense to have a speaker up there perhaps as well. But again, because they fit that sort of stuff to all of them, it's difficult to sort of go between different ones specifically. Okay, so the actual boiler itself, it's a combi, Truma combi boiler. Combi in the sense that it does hot water and heating. It doesn't give you instant hot water like a standard household combi might. It does take about half an hour or so to get your hot water going, but you know, that's just how all the motorhomes are, to be honest. So if you wanted to use the water heater on mains electric, press that button on just there before you start using it up here. That's just a little, you know, I know it says it there, but I just thought I'd just let you know that. So you've basically got, sometimes these are going to be a little bit awkward to actually explain, but what you've essentially got is two dials here. They both do the boiler. The one at the bottom just here essentially just tells the boiler what energy to use. The one at the top is the one that actually tells it what to do. But as I said, this one here just tells it whether to use gas, electric, or both. So at the moment, it's on gas only. Okay, so that one there is gas only. If I go up 1 or 2, that's electric only. So that's when the hookup's plugged in. So obviously at the moment, that's not going to do anything at all because the hookup's not plugged in. If you go down 1 or 2, that'll be gas and electric at the same time. And again, that's only if you've got both on at the same time. Back to the middle then, because we've only got the gas switched on at the moment. The one at the top is what actually tells the, you know, is telling the boiler what to actually do, basically. Now, to actually get it to work, you go down once for heating only, and then you've got your sort of thermostat there for that. So that's heating only. Heating and hot water at 60 degrees. Hot water only at 40, and hot water at 60. Okay, so basically, if you go up to the top, you get hot water only. Down 1 is heating only, and down 2 is both at the same time. All the time that the water is heating up, by the way, you'll get a little amber light in there, which is why that you don't get the amber light when you go down to heating only. So the amber light should go off. There you go. And that is that. So that is how you use the boiler. It's the same for all the Truma combi boilers. It's just that sometimes they're a little bit awkward to explain like that. Right, so unless there's anything else to actually show you, which I don't think there is, all the carpets, as you can tell, are in here. And I honestly think that's about it, really. I don't think there's much else to show you. So, fingers crossed that all made sense. If there's anything you think it didn't make much sense to you, or anything you want going through again, just let us know. Same as if you think I've missed anything out, just let us know that. But otherwise, we look forward to seeing you soon to collect your van. Thanks very much.